Girlfriend pretended to be on vacation with friends but was caught posting from a nearby city, leaving me questioning everything. My girlfriend Amy and I went on our first date around 1.5 years ago, took things slowly while being exclusive, and have been officially dating 1 year. Overall the relationship has been pretty good, minus some small hiccups in communication that she chalks up to her neurodivergence. Amy isn't great with texting, which I thought was a red flag at first until I found out she's like that with almost everyone, most of her friends and family included. To give a little background, Amy and a few of her girlfriends go to this conference a few states over twice per year. It's a 2-day event, which they usually turn into a 5-day vacation because it requires a flight and hotel and is in a nice city. Amy's friend group is typically very active on social media during these trips, posting on their Instagram story during all points, flights, conference, beach, etc. This weekend was supposed to be their third time attending. Amy and her friends have had their flights and hotels booked for a few months, confirmed by some of their posts on social media being excited about having everything booked. Unfortunately the conference was cancelled but they already booked everything, so they decided to still enjoy a vacation. My girlfriend and I had a date night last weekend. She was telling me how excited she was for her trip. All was good, but at the end of the date I caught a glimpse of Amy's phone. She was on her airline app and it looked like she was reading cancellation policies. We had a long day and I was tired and felt like I was snooping/being nosy, so I didn't say anything. During the week, I asked Amy to hang out the day before the flight, emphasizing that I wanted to see her before her trip. Unfortunately she was meeting up with her group of coworker friends, so she couldn't. No worries. The morning of her flight I texted her wishing her a safe flight and happy trip, and she liked my message. We haven't talked since. As I said, she's not a big texter, so we usually don't text much besides planning dates and in emergencies. I figured she was on her trip, so I haven't texted to plan a date. Now on to the meat of the issue. Amy is now supposed to be a few days into her trip and I noticed none of her friends were posting on Instagram. I thought that was weird because they usually post a lot, but I shrugged it off. That was until tonight. Amy started posting videos of her at a show. It looked fun and I didn't think twice about it. Until the ending, where the show host called out, "Thank you," and then the name of the major city nearby where we live, approximately 30-minute drive. I looked up the name of the show, and of course, it was in that nearby city this weekend. Meaning she wasn't on that vacation after all, and never thought to say anything to me about it. I did a little snooping on Venmo and found out that over 2 weeks ago Amy's friend paid her back the money that Amy had sent her for the hotel and car rental. So she's known the trip was cancelled for 2 weeks and hasn't said anything to me every time I brought it up. Where do I go from here? I feel like I'm suddenly spiraling, going crazy overthinking everything lately to see if I've missed any signs. I've already started assuming the worst and I'm panicking. I'm out of town for the weekend and I feel like this has totally thrown off my trip. Is this worth a conversation or is the relationship already over? Is there any reason she would have not said something by now? Even if she tells me the trip was cancelled right when I see her before I confront her, would that still justify not telling me until after the trip? Please, any advice is greatly appreciated. Update 1. A few weeks back my girlfriend was supposed to go on a trip a few states away to go to a conference. I came to find out that the conference was cancelled and she didn't actually go, and never even bothered to tell me. She lied by omission about it by not telling me when I texted her to have a good flight. I found out she didn't go because her best friend posted a picture of them at a show in our local nearby city. So here we are, almost a month later. I was wrecked and spiraling these past few weeks, and after being together for almost 2 years I was too panicked to reach out and ask to see her. During the 3 weeks since her planned trip, she hasn't reached out once to me. That was until yesterday, when she casually reached out like we hadn't just ignored each other for 3 weeks and asked to see a movie. So I just finally saw her tonight. In the car I asked about her trip. Her facial response was really weird, like she got caught off guard. I'm guessing she was expecting me to forget about it after a few weeks of not seeing her. She just said it was okay, which instantly confirmed my suspicions. I asked her what she had done and she said she went to that conference one day, which as I said in my last post was cancelled, and went to a show after before returning home the day after I made my original post. I asked her which and she claimed the show that was in our local city. I was driving at the time and it was dark out, so I waited to confront her as I didn't want to get emotional and endanger us. I confronted her for lying about the trip, doubling down and lying about the conference, and tripling down to lie about the show. Her immediate response was to start deflecting, saying that if this is making me upset, to imagine how she felt that her conference and trip was cancelled. She said how she was so heartbroken and upset that the conference was cancelled, which was cancelled 5 weeks ago, that she didn't want to talk about it. She kept saying that she doesn't owe it to me or anybody else to tell us about her business and what's going on in her life. I of course called her out for gaslighting me, to which her response was that she was not gaslighting me. Kind of ironic, I guess. When I talked about how it made me feel and that she damaged my trust for her, she again tried to belittle my feelings by rolling her eyes and saying that it was only a show. This conversation ended up opening to a much bigger issue in our relationship that I didn't mention in my last post. Generally, Amy treated me really poorly throughout the relationship. She was hot and cold, put zero effort into communication, and it never felt like she made a priority. She'd give me zero affection or compliments despite drooling and crushing over male celebrities all day. She's made little effort to connect me and her family and friends. We've talked about all of this a few times now. She would always say she was overwhelmed with some new excuse and promise it would get better. I would cave in and agree to work through things. As expected, things never got better. This time was the same, where she blamed a new job for being overwhelmed and that's why she's been so distant. But this time was different. I guess her blatant lie to my face and your guys' comments in the back of my mind gave me power to put my foot down. I broke up with her then and there. She kept begging me for one more chance, to think on it for a few days, that she cares about me and didn't intend to hurt me, all that nonsense. But the whole time I was the one bawling, and there wasn't a tear on her face. It really broke my heart ending things, but I've also really grown to hate myself for putting up with her treatment for so long. I'm hurting a lot right now, and I'm scared to get back into the dating world after 2 years of aging and some weight gain. I really loved her with every bit of my heart and I'm terrified to picture my life without her. I really want to call her up and give her one final chance to get things right, but I know I'd never forgive myself if she didn't change and broke my heart again. I'm hurting bad and I could really use some words of encouragement right now. Update 2. Like you all suggested, I've removed Amy on social media. I did it really late one night when I couldn't sleep, a few hours after she normally sleeps. I woke up about 5 hours later for work, around the time when she wakes up, and decided I should block her so I don't get ever tempted to look at her profiles or give her a chance to contact me. She already beat me to the punch and blocked me first thing in the morning. I'm not sure how to block her when I'm blocked, but I guess this gets the job done. I wanted to address one comment. A lot of people are asking why I originally said our relationship was pretty good and waited to drop the bombshell of everything until my update. Honestly, I just wanted unbiased opinions on the original situation, like if there was any reason why somebody in a healthy relationship would have not told me about the trip cancellation. I was naive and was hoping that there'd be some reasoning that I wasn't seeing, and that we could work through this issue. I knew that Amy had been treating me poorly outside of this issue, but it felt like her treatment of me was kind of on the upswing and that we were growing closer, until she stonewalled me for 3 weeks after my first post. Before my first post, I felt like one final talk with her would really keep us on the right path and hopefully fix things for good. Obviously I was naive and stupid for thinking that, and let my love for her blind me to the obvious, but hindsight is 20/20. It's hard to recognize that emotionally abusive relationships aren't going to change when you're in them. Reflecting back, there were always times when she's briefly treated me well to pull me back in. I guess that's what was going on recently, but who knows. And to the people suggesting that we weren't actually in a relationship, that we had different agreements of what the relationship meant, and that I belong in a psych ward, thanks. Appreciate that. But no. When we were still seeing each other, as in, after a few dates, I specifically asked her to be exclusive and she said yes. Once I felt ready, I sat her down, told her how much I cared about her, and asked her to be my girlfriend. She agreed and we've been BF/GF ever since. We've posted each other on Valentine's Day, and both had pictures of each other on social media. When talking to others, she introduced me to them as her boyfriend. We've been on weekend trips away together with my friends. Early on, we had conversations about what we want in terms of kids, marriage, where to live, etc. to make sure we were on the same page. While I might have been naive and had heavy rose-tinted glasses, I'm not some psycho stalker. She knew we were in a relationship, treated me like crap, acknowledged that my feelings were valid all of the times that I brought up her treatment of me, and when I broke up with her she begged me to take a few days and reconsider. This wasn't some fantasy you'd see in a creepy movie. To end off my update, I'm doing okay. I was really sad the first 2 days, but that's past. I am still in pain, grieving, and thinking about her, but there is some relief from all the comments reinforcing that I made the right choice. Things are hard right now, but I know I've made the best choice for me and my well-being. Update 3. It's been about 6 weeks since I broke up with Amy, and I thought I was finally moving on. I'd been going to the gym more, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected, and even went on a couple of dates that my buddy set up. Nothing serious, but it felt good to remember that there were other people out there who actually seemed interested in getting to know me. Then last Tuesday happened. I was at my usual coffee shop near work when I saw her. Not Amy, her friend Sarah, one of the girls from that infamous conference trip group. She was sitting alone at a corner table, and when our eyes met, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I almost walked away, but something in her expression made me pause. She looked guilty? Nervous? I couldn't quite place it. Sarah waved me over hesitantly. We'd only met a handful of times when I was with Amy, but she'd always seemed like the most genuine one in their friend group. After some awkward small talk, she suddenly got this serious look on her face. Look, I know it's not my place, but I need to tell you something about Amy and that whole trip situation, she said, glancing around like she was afraid someone might overhear. My stomach dropped. I thought I was past caring about Amy's lies, but apparently not. Sarah took a deep breath and continued. The conference wasn't just cancelled. Amy never had any intention of going. She'd been planning something else for weeks before that. I felt that familiar knot forming in my chest. What do you mean? She was seeing someone else, Sarah said quietly. This guy Marcus she met at her new job. That whole weekend, she was with him. They went to some resort upstate. The rest of us actually did go on a girls' trip to Miami. We changed our plans last minute when Amy bailed on us. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, Too loud. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. How long? I managed to ask. I think it started about 2 months before the trip. Maybe longer. She was always talking about this friend from work and how funny and smart he was. Then she started working late more often, canceling plans with us. When we asked her about it, she'd get defensive and change the subject. Sarah reached across the table and touched my arm. I'm sorry. I should have said something earlier, but Amy made us all promise not to interfere in her relationship with you. She said you were too clingy and that she needed space to figure things out. Too clingy? The words hit me like a slap. But after she told us how the breakup went down, how she made it seem like it was all about some stupid lie about a show, I couldn't live with myself knowing the truth and not telling you. I sat there in stunned silence, trying to process everything. All those times Amy had seemed distant, all those work events she couldn't skip, all those moments when I felt like I was going crazy thinking something was off, I hadn't been imagining it. Is she still with him? I asked, hating myself for caring. Sarah nodded. Yeah. They're pretty serious now, I think. She's been posting about him on her private Instagram. Nothing public yet, but... She trailed off, probably seeing the look on my face. I thanked Sarah for telling me and somehow managed to get through the rest of my workday, but I was a complete mess. That night, I found myself doing something I swore I wouldn't do. I created a fake Instagram account and tried to find Amy's profile. She had blocked me on everything, but I remembered some of her work friends' names. After some digging, I found what I was looking for. There was Amy, looking happier than I'd ever seen her, wrapped in the arms of some tall, dark-haired guy at what looked like a fancy restaurant. The timestamp showed it was from last weekend. Another photo showed them at the beach, the same weekend she was supposed to be on that conference trip, based on the dates. But here's the part that really got me. I recognized the restaurant from the first photo. It was the same place I'd taken Amy for our 1-year anniversary dinner, the same place where I'd told her I was falling in love with her. I spent the next few days spiraling again, but this time it was different. I wasn't sad, I was angry. Furious, actually. Not just about the cheating, but about how she'd made me feel crazy for questioning her behavior. How she'd gaslit me into thinking I was being paranoid and clingy when my gut was screaming that something was wrong. The worst part was realizing that during our last few months together, when I thought we were getting closer, she was probably just feeling guilty and overcompensating. All those times she'd suddenly be affectionate after days of being cold, it all made sense now. But then something unexpected happened. Yesterday, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Amy. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I really need to talk to you. It's important, can we meet for coffee? I stared at that message for hours. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part, the part that had loved her for almost 2 years, was curious. What could she possibly need to say to me now? Update 4. I agreed to meet Amy at a neutral coffee shop downtown, definitely not the one where Sarah had dropped that bombshell about Marcus. I arrived early, my hands shaking as I ordered my usual black coffee. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked different. Thinner, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. Gone was that radiant glow I'd seen in her Instagram photos with Marcus. She sat down across from me, fidgeting with her phone. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I wasn't sure you would.
Neither was I replied, trying to keep my voice steady.
What's so important that you had to break the no contact rule? Amy took a shaky breath. I know you probably hate me, and you have every right to, but I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear me out completely before you react. I nodded, bracing myself for whatever was coming. I was pregnant, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. When we broke up, I was pregnant. The words hit me like a freight train. My mind immediately started racing, calculating dates, remembering our last time together, trying to process what this meant. I managed to ask. I lost the baby 3 weeks ago, she continued, tears starting to form in her eyes. I was about 8 weeks along when it happened. I've been dealing with it alone, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I needed you to know. I sat there in stunned silence, my coffee growing cold in my hands. Why are you telling me this now? And why didn't you tell me before? Because I didn't know whose it was, she said, looking directly at me for the first time since she sat down. It could have been yours or Marcus's. The timing was too close to tell without a paternity test, and I couldn't bring myself to find out while I was still pregnant. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. So you're saying you might have lost a child too? Yes, she finished. And I'm so sorry for not telling you. I'm sorry for everything. The lying, the cheating, the way I treated you. I've been going to therapy since the miscarriage, and I'm finally starting to see how awful I was to you. I couldn't speak. The coffee shop felt like it was spinning around me. All those months of feeling like something was wrong, of being told I was paranoid and clingy, and she'd been carrying what might have been my child while sleeping with someone else. There's more, Amy said, wiping her eyes. Marcus left me. When I lost the baby and told him the whole truth about the situation, he said he couldn't handle the drama and that he wasn't ready for this level of complication. He blocked me on everything and transferred to a different department at work. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated that the man she'd left me for had abandoned her in her time of need. But mostly, I just felt hollow. I know I have no right to ask this, she continued, but I've been having these dreams about you. About us, about what our life might have been like if I hadn't screwed everything up. I keep thinking about how you would have supported me through this, how you would have held me when I was crying, how you would have been there at the doctor's appointments. Amy, stop, I said, finding my voice. You don't get to do this. You don't get to cheat on me, lie to me, make me feel crazy for months, and then come here and tell me I might have lost a child because of your choices. I know, she sobbed, I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm falling apart, and you're the only person who ever really cared about me. I lost the baby, I lost Marcus, and I realized I lost the only man who ever truly loved me. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I need to go. This is too much. Wait, she said, grabbing my arm. I got the paternity test done. After I lost the baby. I needed to know. I froze, and? She pulled out a folded piece of paper from her purse with trembling hands. It was yours. The baby was yours. The world tilted. I felt like I was going to be sick. All the air seemed to leave my lungs at once. I sat back down hard, staring at the paper she'd placed on the table between us. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I know this doesn't change anything, but I needed you to know. We lost our baby, and it's all my fault. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't look at the paper. I just sat there, trying to process that I'd been a father for a few weeks without knowing it, and now I wasn't anymore. I want to try again, Amy said suddenly. I want to try to earn you back. I know it sounds crazy, but losing the baby made me realize what I'd thrown away. You were going to be an amazing father. You would have been so excited, so supportive. I can't stop thinking about how different things could have been. I finally looked up at her. You're right. It does sound crazy. You think because you lost a baby that might have been mine, I'm going to forget everything you did? The months of lying, the cheating, the gaslighting? I've changed, she pleaded. I'm in therapy twice a week. I've cut contact with all the friends who enabled my behavior. I quit my job so I wouldn't have to see Marcus every day. I'm trying to become the person you deserved all along. It's too late for that, I said, standing up again. I'm sorry about the baby. I'm sorry for both of us, but this doesn't change what you did or who you are. As I walked toward the door, she called out, I'm not giving up on us. I know you still love me. I can see it in your eyes. I paused at the door but didn't turn around. The man who loved you died the night I found out about your lies. This person you're talking to now? He's someone different. Someone who knows better. But as I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe she was right. Maybe I did still love her, somewhere deep down. And maybe that's exactly why I needed to stay as far away from her as possible. 3 days later, I was at my apartment when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a delivery guy holding a massive bouquet of flowers, the same type I'd gotten her for our first Valentine's Day together. The card read, I remember everything you ever told me about yourself. I remember how you take your coffee, your favorite movie, the way you scrunch your nose when you're thinking. I remember it all because I loved you. And I still do. Please don't give up on what we could be. I threw the flowers in the trash, but I kept the card. I told myself it was because I needed evidence if she started stalking me, but deep down, I knew it was because some part of me wasn't ready to let go completely. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I cried, not just for the relationship or for Amy, but for the child I'd never known I'd lost. For the life that might have been. For the man I used to be who believed in second chances and happy endings. I was still crying when my phone buzzed with a text from Amy. I know you threw away the flowers. I'm parked outside. I saw you through the window. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. Update 5. I stared at that text for what felt like hours, my hands trembling as I held my phone. Through my living room window, I could see her car parked under the streetlight, the silhouette of her figure hunched over the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to call the police, but another part, the part that had just learned I'd lost a child I never knew existed, felt completely paralyzed. I texted back, Amy, you can't just show up at my place like this. We said everything we needed to say at the coffee shop. Her response came immediately, please. Just 5 minutes, I have something else I need to tell you. Something I couldn't say in public. Against every rational thought in my head, I found myself walking to my front door. I opened it but didn't step outside. Amy was already out of her car, walking toward me with that same desperate look in her eyes from the coffee shop. You have 5 minutes, I said, crossing my arms. Then I'm calling the police. She nodded frantically. I know this is crazy, but I found something in Marcus's desk at work before I quit. Something about you. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Amy pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of what looked like a private Instagram account. The username was something random, but the profile picture made my stomach drop. It was a photo of me from my own Instagram, one I'd posted months ago at a work event. Marcus has been stalking you, she said quietly. This account follows all your friends, your coworkers, even your sister. He's been watching you since before we even broke up. I felt like I was going to throw up. Why would he be stalking me? Because he was obsessed with the idea of you. He kept asking me about you, what you were like, what you did together. At first I thought he was just curious, but then it became. Weird. He'd bring you up constantly, asking me to compare you two, wanting to know specific details about our relationship. My mind was racing. Amy, this is insane. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because I was scared, she said, tears streaming down her face. And because there's more. Marcus didn't just leave me when I lost the baby. He said something that's been haunting me for weeks. What did he say? She took a shaky breath. He said he was glad the baby was gone because he didn't want to raise that pathetic loser's kid. He knew the whole time that the baby was probably yours, and he was hoping the paternity test would prove it so he could hold it over you somehow. I had to lean against the doorframe to keep from falling over. Hold what over me? He has this sick fantasy about destroying your life. He found out where you work, where you live, everything. He even knows about the dates you've been going on. He's been planning to contact your work, to try to get you fired by making up some story about you harassing me. This is crazy, I whispered. This can't be real. Amy stepped closer, and I could see the genuine fear in her eyes. There's more evidence. Look. She swiped to another screenshot, this one showing a group chat between Marcus and several of his friends. The messages were from just 2 days ago, and they were talking about me, about how Marcus was going to destroy the little bitch who couldn't keep his woman satisfied. About how he'd already found out personal details about my family, my job, my daily routines. He's dangerous, Amy said. And I think he's escalating. Yesterday, he showed up at my apartment. He was drunk and angry, screaming about how I chose the wrong man and how he was going to make sure we both paid for it. I felt like I was in some kind of nightmare. Did you call the police? I tried, but he left before they arrived. And without proof of actual threats, they said there wasn't much they could do. But I'm terrified, and I'm terrified for you too. I stood there in my doorway, trying to process everything. The woman who had destroyed my life was now telling me that the man she'd destroyed it for was potentially dangerous to both of us. It felt like some kind of twisted cosmic joke. Why should I believe you? I asked finally, after everything you've done, why should I trust a single word you say? Amy's face crumpled. Because I know I don't deserve your trust. But I can't live with myself if something happens to you because of choices I made. I brought this person into our lives, and now he's threatening you. She pulled out another piece of paper from her purse. I went to a lawyer today. I'm filing for a restraining order against Marcus, and I want to help you file one too. I have all the evidence, the fake accounts, the messages, everything. I looked at the legal documents in her hands, then back at her face. She looked genuinely terrified in a way I'd never seen before. This wasn't the manipulative, calculating Amy I'd known. This was someone who was genuinely afraid. There's something else, she said quietly. Marcus knows about the baby. He knows about the paternity test. And he's been telling his friends that he's going to use it to break you completely. He wants to make sure you never move on from what happened. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Hey buddy, heard you lost something that belonged to me. Don't worry, I took good care of her while you were playing house. Maybe we should meet up and talk about it. Amy saw my face change as I read the message. That's him, isn't it? I nodded, showing her the text. Her face went white. He's starting, she whispered. This is exactly what he said he was going to do. Another text came through. I bet you're wondering what else I know about your pathetic life. Want to find out? I'll be at Murphy's Bar on 5th Street tonight at 9. Come alone, or I start making calls to your boss tomorrow. I looked at Amy, who was reading over my shoulder. You have to call the police, she said. Right now. But even as she said it, we both knew it wouldn't matter. Marcus hadn't actually threatened me directly. He was too smart for that. He was playing a game, and somehow, I'd become the target without even knowing I was playing. I'm going, I said suddenly. What? No, you can't. That's exactly what he wants. Amy, this psycho has been stalking me for months. He's threatening my job, my life, everything. I'm not going to hide from him. She grabbed my arm. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. He's my mess. I created this situation, and I'm going to help fix it. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since she'd arrived. Despite everything she'd done, despite all the lies and betrayal, she was standing here offering to face down a potentially dangerous man because she felt responsible for bringing him into my life. If I let you come, this doesn't change anything between us, I said firmly. This doesn't mean we're getting back together. This doesn't mean I forgive you. She nodded quickly. I know. I need to make this right somehow. As we drove to Murphy's Bar in my car, Amy kept checking her phone nervously. He's been silent for the past hour, she said. That's not like him. He usually texts constantly when he's angry. Maybe he's having second thoughts, I suggested, though I didn't believe it myself. No, she said quietly. He's planning something. I can feel it. We arrived at Murphy's Bar at 8:45 p.m. It was a dive bar in a rough part of town, exactly the kind of place someone would choose if they wanted to intimidate someone. Amy and I sat in my car across the street, watching the entrance. There, Amy said, pointing to a tall figure walking toward the bar. That's him. I watched as Marcus entered the bar, and for the first time, I was seeing the man who had destroyed my relationship. He was bigger than I'd expected, with an arrogant swagger that made my skin crawl. I'm going in, I said, starting to get out of the car. Wait, Amy said, grabbing my hand. Before you go in there, I need to tell you something else. Something I should have told you at the coffee shop. I turned to look at her, and the expression on her face made my blood run cold. I'm pregnant again, she whispered. And this time, I know for certain it's yours.